Yasodhanandana Janaranjana Yamanatiravanachari Jaya Ratamadava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopjana Vallabha Girivadadhari Gopjana Vallabha Girivadhari Yasodhanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yasodhanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamanatira Vanachari Yamanatiravanachari Jaya Radhamadhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Shripat Paramahamsa Pravajakacharya Stotara Satta Shri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Nanta Kori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki ISKCON BBT founder Acharya His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Prem to the whole Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Sambhaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki. Oh, glories to the symbol of devotees. Oh, glories to the symbol of devotees. Oh, glories to the symbol of devotees. Oh, glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Srimad Bhagavatam Gantaraja Ki. Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we would like to welcome our good friends Harinam Ruchi, who have come to stay with us here for a couple of days and refresh, and hopefully we have lots of prasadam for them and lots of love. So thank you very much for gracing the shores of Australia and spreading love of Krishna consciousness there. I'm sure a lot of the people who came to the schoolies there will not forget you in a hurry. So lasting impressions. Without the Harinam, the schoolies is just like a desert. It's just like parched wood. So when the Harinam comes and they hear the names of Krishna, they just actually, it's like a fire springing up with them and they're immediately attracted. That's a fantastic thing. So today We are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 11, Text 38. Very scientific chapter, calculation of time from the atom. Katoyam dviparadhakyo nimesha paratya upacharyate avyakritasya nantasya hi anade jagaratmana kaloyam dviparadakyo nimesha pacharyate avyakritasya nantasya hi anade jagatatmana. Ladies. Kala, eternal time. This is measured by Brahma's duration of life. Dviparada, Akya, measured by the two halves of Brahma's life. Nimisha, less than a second. Upacharyate is so measured. Avyakritasya, one who is unchanged. Anantasya, of the unlimited. He, certainly. Anade, of the beginningless. Jagaratmana, of the soul of the universe. Translation: the duration of the two parts of Brahma's life, as mentioned, is calculated to be equal to one nimesha, less than a second, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unchanging and unlimited and is the cause of all causes of the universe. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Great sage Maitreya has given a considerable description of the time of different dimensions, beginning from the atom up to the duration of the life of Brahma. Now he attempts to give some idea of the time of the unlimited personality of Godhead. He just gives a hint of his unlimited time by the standard of the life of Brahma. The entire duration of the life of Brahma is calculated to be less than a second of the Lord's time, as is explained in the Brahma Samhita 548 as follows. Yasyekanisva siti kalamata valambya jivanti loma vilaja jagarandanata Vishnur Mahansaya Yasya Kala Vishesho Govindam Amaham Bhajami. I worship Govinda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, whose plenary portion is Mahavishnu. All the heads of the innumerable universes, like the Brahmas, live only by taking shelter of the time occupied by one of his breaths. The impersonalists do not believe in the form of the Lord, and thus they would hardly believe in the Lord sleeping. Their idea is obtained by a poor fund of knowledge. They calculate everything in terms of man's capacity. They think that the existence of the Supreme is just the opposite of active human existence. Because a human being has senses, the Supreme must be without sense perception. Because a human being has a form, the Supreme must be formless. And because a human being sleeps, the Supreme must not sleep. Srimad Bhagavatam, however, does not agree with such impersonalists. It is clearly stated herein that the Supreme Lord rests in Yoga Nidra, as previously discussed. And because he sleeps, naturally he must breathe. And the Brahma Samhita confirms that within his breathing period, innumerable Brahmas take birth and die. There is a complete agreement between Srimad Bhagavatam and the Brahma Samhita. Eternal time is never lost along with the life of Brahma. It continues, but it has no ability to control the Supreme Personality of Godhead because the Lord is the controller of time. In the spiritual world, there is undoubtedly time, but it has no control over activities. Time is unlimited, and the spiritual world is also unlimited, since everything there exists on the absolute plane. Om Gyana Timirandasya Jananjana Slakaya Chaksurun Militam Yena Tasmei Shri Gurave Namaha Durga Me Parimendasya Skalapati Gatimahu Swakripa Yustadanina Shantashantu Valambanam. So today I would like to do a little bit of a recap on what we've been discussing here. It's quite a scientific chapter, and we've been talking about Lord Brahma for a while. So sometimes people come in and out and they might get a little bit here and there. So I just would like to attempt to present the whole picture. So here in the purport, or here in the translation, it's described, so Lord Brahma has two parts to his life. He's got the first part, first 50 years, and the second 50 years, as we know, Lord Brahma lives 100 years. That 100 years, of course, is relatively speaking that everybody lives 100 years, right? But the duration of time is different. Lord Brahma's years are not like the years that we are accustomed to, but they're celestial years. But we'd just like to describe the time frame of celestial years as well. So there are different gradations. Please bear with me. It's just like it begins with the lower planetary system, which we call Bhuloka. We are part of the earthly planetary system, and within this earthly planetary system, right in the middle, is this huge mountain called Mount Meru. It is really an amazing mountain which just goes up and up and up and up, and it's in a conical shape. And around Mount Meru there are what we call 8 tracts of land called the Varshas. So there are interesting inhabitants on these Varshas. There's the Kimpurush Varshas, there's the monkeys in one land, and there's other sort of beings like half men, half horses, and other sort of demigods, like demigod-like beings, like the yakshas. And it is said that they all lived to be 1,000 years. They lived for 1,000 years. So then we go up a little bit to the celestial realms, where we go to Swargaloka. Who lives on Swargaloka? King Indra and all, a lot of the demigods. And King Indra's lifespan said to be 71 cycles of yugas, or the lifetime of one Manu. Now, a yuga, we know Kali Yuga, right? So we know Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. So a cycle of yugas, it's easy to determine. I'll just give, sometimes we have shortcuts in mathematics, right? So the cycle of yugas is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10, right? So you multiply 432,000 by 10, and you get one cycle of yugas, which is 4,320,000 years. So in other words, Kali Yuga's 432, so add another 432,000 to the next stage, which is Dwapara, and then again another 432 to Treta, and then to Satya Yuga, and you have 1,720,000 years for the Golden Age. And just to confuse you a little bit more with mathematics, this is a complete squirrel from the class, but when we chant our 16 rounds, how many names do we chant in one day in that 16 round? 1,026, that's right, 28. So you multiply that by 1,000, and that's the cycle of Satya Yuga. Just something interesting to know. So, complete red herring. So King Indra, we're up to King Indra. So he lives for 71 of these cycles of yugas. So that's his 100 years, relative years. And that is the same as the current Manu. So we have the Manu lives that period of time as well, after which there is a partial devastation to the lower heavenly realms, Swargaloka. And at that point in time, there's a change of Manus and other principal demigods such as Indra, Chandra, Surya, and Yamaraj. So it is stated, actually it's stated who the next King Indra is going to be. Does anybody know very quickly? Quite interesting. Bali Maharaj. How good is that in the next stage, if we're there for it? So, so at this point in time, with this partial devastation, the Govardhana Ocean starts to rise, but something interesting happens in the higher celestial realms, which are Mahaloka, Gyanaloka, and Siddhaloka. So in those realms, the inhabitants feel the effects of the devastation, so they all migrate to Lord Brahma's planet in Satya Yuga. So they avoid that devastation. So the residents there, they get to stay for the whole duration of 1 day or 12 hours of Lord Brahma, which we know is 1,000 cycle of yugas. So within these 1,000 cycles of yugas, there are 14 Manus and so many 14 different Indras and so on and so forth, right? So these residents stay for that period of time, and their period is 1,000 yugas is 4,320,000,000 of our Earth years. So that's the 12 hours Lord Brahma. But then there's a devastation at that point in time. It's the end of Lord Brahma's day, right? So then all these residents, they also are moved on. So then when Lord Brahma wakes up the next day, it's the second day and he is alone and he has to recreate the universe. So this is being described here in the Srimad Bhagavatam as the millennium of Lord Brahma. So here we are going back to the first millennium of Lord Brahma, which is called Brahmakalpa, right? That's the very first day. A millennium is the day of Lord Brahma. So the very first day is called Brahmakalpa. And the second day is called Padmakalpa. So, if we just recently, we were reading in the second canto, only a few months ago, that in the beginning, when Lord Brahma appears, he is confused. And what happens in his confusion, he starts looking around and he hears the words, tapa, meditate. And it's said in the second canto that he meditates for 100 celestial years of the demigods. So the residents of Tapa and Gyanaloka live 100 years relative to the day of Lord Brahma. King Indra lived 71 kalpas relative to the Manvatars, and that's his 100 years. So anyway, the 1,000 years, 1,000 cycles is known as a millennium. So for that millennium, it alludes to the fact that Lord Brahma in his first day just meditated. That's a long time to meditate. 4,320,000,000,000 years. So in that point in time, he was enlightened, and on the second day, which was Padmakalpa, he got the knowledge to create, and then he began to create the Visarga, the secondary creation. Already the Sarga was there. Lord created the universe and the shape of the universe and the planetary systems within the universe, and then it was up to Lord Brahma to fill it up. And that is also described as being a lotus shape. So in that form, Lord Brahma began the phase of creating this universe. So Srila Prabhupada, he moves on to tell us that, or the Srimad Bhagavatam also moves on to tell us that was in the first 2 days of Lord Brahma. Of course, Lord Brahma lives for 100 years. So in the second half of Lord Brahma's life, the first day of Lord Brahma's life is called the Viraha. It's called the Viraha Kalpa. Why is that? Because Lord Viraha appears. So for those of us who aren't familiar with the different incarnations of Lord Viraha is which incarnation according to the 10 avatars? I'm asking this out of seriousness. I don't know. The fourth incarnation, Viraha, right? So then he appears as this beautiful boar incarnation, and all I remember is Radhanath Maharaj once describing that every hair on the body of this beautiful boar incarnation is so lustrous, that is so transcendental that just seeing it will put you in complete spiritual ecstasy. That is the incarnation, Lord Viraha. And we are going to find out all about Lord Viraha in the chapter after this. We're on the 11th chapter. So in the 13th chapter of this third canto, it talks all about the coming of Lord Viraha. So don't miss out. Be here for it. If you're not, please read about it, because Lord Viraha is a very prominent incarnation in which we embed our knowledge and philosophy of the Srimad Bhagavatam, because it's to do with the descent of Jai Vijay into this material realm. So anyway, this is a brief description of the relative 100 years. So I would just like to further elaborate where we sit with all this, just to try and put things into perspective if it's getting a little bit confusing. And being a product of the 60s, I know a lot of us often quote sort of songs that we heard from the 60s, because actually the 60s was all about song, It was a cultural revolution. Of course, the greatest song was the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, which actually revolutionized everything. But one particular song I was just always fascinated by the words. It was by this big band. It was called Chicago, I'll mention that. And one of the lyrics was that this person was standing at a bus stop and he says, "Does anybody know what time it is?" And I'm thinking, that is weird. It's not like, does anybody know what the time is? Does anybody know what time it is? And I'm thinking, what is it? So actually, Srimad Bhagavatam describes the time in perspective, exactly where we stand. You might be standing at the bus stop or you might be sitting here. But the time is that we're early in the second half of Lord Brahma's life, and we know how long Lord Brahma lives. And on this particular day of Lord Brahma, we are under the jurisdiction of the 8th Manu, which is called, who is called? Vaivasvata Manu. Yes, so it's the 8th Manu, so we're in the second part of Lord Brahma's day here. And in this 8th Manu, we know that the Manus live for 71 cycles of yuga, so we're in the 28th cycle. So in the 28th cycle of the 8th Manu in the second half of Lord Brahma. I can't say it's the first day, even though it says Vara appears in the first day, but somewhere in the Bhagavatam, correct me if I'm wrong, I've read that Lord Brahma's in his approximately 55th year. So but there are different forms of Varaha which appear. So anyway, we're in the second half of Lord Brahma, it's safe to say that. So in this 28th cycle, we are in the age of Kali Yuga. So Satya Yuga's come, Dwapara Yuga's gone, Treta Yuga's gone, and now we're in the age of Kali. 5,000 years in the age of Kali, which began just after Krishna left 5,000 years ago. So you can say we're fortunate and misfortunate that we just missed Krishna by 5,000 years, right? And this is a special thing about this age, this 28th cycle and the 8th cycle of Manu, and the 28th, what is it? I'm gone now. 28th cycle of the 8th cycle of Manu, because it's predicted that this particular time Lord Krishna appears. And the most amazing thing is that he appears once in the day of Lord Brahma. So if you think about it, all the other 13 Manus miss out. Only this particular Manu. So how rare is that out of the 4,320,000,000 years that we just missed out by 5,000 years. Not only that, but Krishna also appears in his hidden incarnation as Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and he only came 500 years ago to inaugurate the Jagya, or the method for achieving liberation, love of God in this age of Kali, 500 years ago. That's not long. That's only like yesterday, really. That's only a few births ago. We might have still been around somewhere 500 years ago. It was quite interesting when I just went to Mayapur about a month ago. I took some devotees around to some of the places of pilgrimage, and we went down back the Siddhanta Road. And these devotees, they were just fresh into Mayapur, and they were just feeling the essence of spirituality. I was sharing that with them, that we went to Srivas Angam. That's where Lord Caitanya, in his pastime as Nimai, was having these ecstatic kirtans with all the devotees. We know all about sometimes some devotee would be sneaking in, like that brahmachari that only drank milk. Advaita Charya Prabhu, Srivas Pandit sort of thought, oh, well, he's a really pure brahmachari, he only drinks milk. I'll smuggle him into Lord Chaitanya's kirtan, and they're having this ecstatic kirtan, and then all of a sudden Lord Chaitanya stops and goes, there's something not right here. What's going on? Is there somebody in this room that's not supposed to be in here? And then Srivas had to front up and said, yes, there's this brahmachari in here just behind the whatever, and But he only drinks milk. He's a very pure soul. And Lord Chaitanya erupted, drinks milk. What's that got to do with bhakti? You can do whatever you like, but that doesn't give you bhakti. Get him out of here, right? We only have the bhaktas in here. And then that brahmachari, as he was being escorted out, he started to cry, right? That because he's feeling the separation from the kirtan. And Lord Chaitanya saw that. He said, bring him back in. So that was just one case. So there, and they're feeling the ecstasy. We're in this very spot. It just felt, it's a temple, it's there. Of course, they've expanded it, but that very spot was there. And same, we go to the yoga pit, and there's Lord Chaitanya's birthplace, right? That hut, a replica exactly of the same hut under which Lord Chaitanya was born, under the nim tree. And you take a nim leaf, this particular nim tree is still related to the original nim tree, like it was a branch. So we can feel that actually the presence of that, it's like yesterday. So that the good part about it is that we can feel the potency of the Dharma, and we can be a part of this mission, that we are a part of what is going on in this spiritual revolution of Lord Chaitanya. So anyway, we've established Lord Brahma's life here, going on with the purport here a little bit. 8,640,000,000 years. So that's Lord Brahma's day and night. And he lives 100 years. So therefore, if you get that figure, now, okay, do your maths, get your calculator out. 8,640,000,000 multiplied by 360, which is 1 year multiplied by 100. So that's the life of Lord Brahma, which is really, it's beyond the scope of our imagination. We're limited as to how far we can go. It's probably like trying to count the number of grains of sand on Caritamrita Beach. Something like that. Where do you start? But here it's stated that this length of time is less than just 1 second of the Lord's breathing. And as it's also said here, that when Lord Brahma, when Mahavishnu breathes out, all the universe is formed, the Brahmas are formed. When he breathes in, the Brahmas are destroyed. Just one breath. So the Supreme Person of Godhead, in his incarnation, in his expansion, as Mahavishnu, he's in a state of yoga nidra. It's like a deep sleep. He breathes in, breathes out, breathes in, and each time the universes, all the Brahmas come out, multi-universes, all lying there on the causal ocean, and then when he breathes back in, they are destroyed. So Prabhupada talks about the impersonalists. So the personalist saying, hang on, wait a minute here. Like, how can this be? Because the Lord does not have any form. There's only Brahman, so how could he sleep? So they would reason, impersonalists are reasoning that because we're all here in our bodies in this material world, and our senses are under the influence of motive passion and ignorance and goodness, and that the Lord, he is niguna, that he's not under the influence of the modes, therefore he has no senses, because he's not under the influence of the material energy. And similarly, because our bodies are made of, just like we say, sarira vidya jala, our body's a lump of ignorance, that we're made of material matter. But the Supreme, he's niguna, he has no form, he has no body. His body, because it's not made of material matter, therefore they assume that he has no body at all. So therefore he's got no sense, he's got no body. If he has no body, how can he sleep? What is this sleep? There is no sleep going on here. So they have difficulty in accepting this, what we've just described. Of course, as if the impersonalists, they declare that the Supreme, he is unlimited, then they're limiting him by saying he has no body. We've got a body, so why can't the Supreme Personality, or so Supreme have a being, and be a person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So where they are not understanding is the fact that the Supreme Person, his body is all spiritual, and he is beyond the influence of material modes of energy, in which we've been cast into this universe to enjoy ourselves in the capacity that we can try to be our own, to be like God. But Krishna is entirely free from any material contamination. And we know this because actually Krishna appears in his original incarnation and he comes in the same body. So he just came in the same body 5,000 years ago, and in the last day of Lord Brahma he came in the same body, and in the Brahma before that, and all the universes where all the Brahmas are, he comes in the same body. He is the same Krishna. He describes that in the Bhagavad Gita. He said, many births you and I, Arjuna, we've had here, but you can't remember him, but I can, because he is free from the influence of time. So therefore, Krishna, he can sleep. Even Krishna, when he comes, he falls asleep. He goes to sleep. Other times he doesn't. Just like when Krishna lifted Govardhana hill with his little finger. We just had Govardhana Puja here, very ecstatic. He just lifted the hill for 7 days and 7 nights. So he didn't sleep. He just stayed awake. And other times when he's been out with the gopis, sharing wonderful, intimate spiritual pastimes with the gopis, he's rather tired in the morning and he goes to herd the cows and he falls asleep under the trees while the cowherd boys are massaging his feet. So it's all pastimes. So Mahavishnu, who's the expansion, Krishna, is in a permanent state, Yoga Nidra. So this is not an ignorant sleep, it's a form of consciousness whereby he can create the material universes. But he's never ever contaminated, because his spiritual form can't be contaminated by what he does. So some people say because he becomes in contact with Maya, when Maya transfers all the living entities into the universe, he becomes contaminated. No. It's like oil and water. Have you ever tried to mix oil and water? Can't be done. Have you ever had water in your oil in your car? Then you know you're in trouble, right? So anyway, similarly, the mundane scholars, they think that Krishna, he becomes influenced by the mode of passion when he's dancing with the gopis. But they don't understand that Krishna is beyond the modes, and he doesn't understand that the gopis themselves are also free of any material contamination, that they are the highest, most advanced souls in the universe, are always eternal associates in the spiritual world, totally freed from the boundaries of this material world and the time. So even though the Lord is resting, is not under jurisdiction of time. So Lord Brahma's life is just the second of the Lord's time. It's sometimes for us, while we're here, it's hard to understand this infinity. What is eternity? Because we are limited. Everything's got a beginning, everything's got an end. Somewhere along the line it has to happen. So a sort of someone who's completely in illusion like me will grasp at this opportunity. Aha, it's just like a second. Lord Brahma's life is like a second of Mahavishnu. So, okay, let's put it together. How many lifetimes of Lord Brahma in a minute, of Lord Vishnu, and then we'll put it together in the now, and then we're after 100 years, that must be the end. You know, that's infinity. But actually, even if we get to that spot where Mahavishnu breathes in and out for so many times, like compared to what we compare to a minute, and then to a day, and then 12 months, and then 100 years, which is like more than all the grains of sand, the whole world. Still, it's only the beginning of the next phase. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going. Just give up. Just accept infinity. That's the hard thing to do. Just accept infinity. The Lord, he is infinite. And not only that, but we are here, and the Lord is all cognizant. And I was just thinking about cognizance. So we are here right now, we're somehow cognizant, but we have to remember that half the time we're asleep, we're in the body of Lord Vishnu. And then we all come out, and Lord Brahma creates us, and here we are in our bodies. And then half the time we have to sleep anyway. Even Lord Brahma has to sleep. And it's said that even while we're awake, we're sleeping, because we're actually in illusion, thinking that with these bodies, we're not cognizant of our spiritual identities. So real cognizance is spiritual awareness. So do we want to stay here where we sleep half the time in the body of Lord Vishnu, and then we come here, we sleep half the time, that makes it a quarter, and half the time we're illusion. We're thinking about the past, and half the time we think about the past, the other half the time we're thinking about the future. And we're in great fear of our situation. So, in other words, this world we live in is an ocean of nescience. And you can compare it that like we're in the middle of this huge ocean, we're in the Atlantic Ocean, we're in an ocean liner or something, and the boat sinks. And we're hanging on to a piece of driftwood, right? And we're going, help. And we know that there's no way we can reach the shore. We're in the middle of the ocean. So what do? We ask for help. And on the log we cry out. And so this is the same thing as material world. This is called an ocean nescience. We're just swimming in it. And unless we get help, we can never get out. We can't do it by ourselves. So the atheists and the agnostics and the so forth, scientists and so forth, we can get out. We can become eternal. We can become immortal. They have no idea of their own sort of existence, that they are spirit souls, and all the bodily adjustments they're making is just like you say, readjusting the deck chairs of the Titanic. So when we put out our hand for help and cry for help, and the Lord, he comes in the form of the spiritual master, and it's just like, hey, helicopters come along, we'll take you home. So this is the spiritual master and the Vedas and the disciplic succession, that they're here to give us a lifeline to take us home back to Godhead. And so in this age, our cry for help is very easy. It's in the form of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. And it is so ecstatic. Anybody who's been out on Harinam, Sankirtan can sort of taste the nectar. And that's just a little part of it, because that's actually just the beginning of our awakening, beginning of our cognizance. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. 2 minutes left. Would anybody like to make a comment or ask a question? Bharat Prabhu, give him a microphone. Somehow I feel like this is a trick question.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for the class. I just wanted to mention, since we have our friends Harinam Ruchi here, and you know the discussion we were having yesterday with Ajita about the schoolies, how there has been reports now that the schoolies are well behaved, and there was an article in the newspaper. And as devotees, we know that because they've been doing Harinam, and of course they've been going out to surfers and Byron Bay. You see people gradually become peaceful. I think yesterday I was hearing that during schoolies the boys would jump from the third floor of the building onto the police cars, like smashing the police cars. They're so drunk, alcohol and everything that goes on. But over time you see that because of regular Harinams every year, you see that the schoolies have become much more subdued
in their pursuit of pleasure.
Yes. So I just wanted to make that
comment.
comment.
Thank you, Bharat.
Hare Krishna.
Beautiful. One more question, 15 seconds. Thank you. Well, I just hope that they understand a little bit more than before. It's all there, but sometimes it's just good to get it all into one recap. Is that all done? 6:30, it's time to ring the bell for Prashadam. All glories. 8:30. 6:30 somewhere. All glories, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Sorry?
So does that spirit world, that is the times unlimited, does that also exist here?
It's here.
Does it exist in this realm?
Well, we exist